Story time about how I felt when I found out I was pregnant, knowing damn well I was going to end up being a single mom. I'm going to keep this short and sweet and not about Big Papa's father and solely about me and my emotions throughout my journey. So I have a video on when I found out I was pregnant. I went to Walmart to get some pregnancy tests and I was going to take them after work because I wanted to wait to be on the phone with Big Papa's father as I took the tests so that we could go through it together. I genuinely did not think I was pregnant. At this point, I was only like 3 or 4 days late for my period, but my period is very regular. And like, there were a few things that were going on that were kind of off. Like my pee was very yellow. I was really tired. And at one point I fainted. So I'm like, something weird's going on. So let me just check. Even though I don't think I'm pregnant, let me just check. So obviously the test came back that I was pregnant. And in this situation, I did not know what I wanted to do. So I was thinking about it for a while with Big Papa's father. And I decided initially that I was like, no, we are not ready for this. Like, I know how this is going to play out. No, I need to terminate. But long story short, I went and I got an ultrasound because I thought I had a miscarriage because I woke up a couple days later and I was bleeding like a lot. Not only was I bleeding a lot, but when I went to the bathroom, I passed like a really big blood clot as well. So I was like, okay, so I guess I lost this baby. So because of this, I went to the doctors to be like, I don't really know what to do at this point. I'm pretty sure I had a miscarriage. I've never been pregnant before. I didn't even know if I was supposed to go to the doctors. I was just like, did this just happen? And do I leave it alone? I have no idea. I've never been pregnant. So basically the doctors tested my hormone levels on, let's say it was a Friday, and then I had to go back 2 days later, test my hormone levels again, and then come back in a couple days and see if my levels either were rising or falling. At this point, I had zero faith that I was still pregnant. Like, the amount of blood that I passed and that clot, I was like, there's no way I'm still pregnant. But I mean, this is the procedure that we have to take, so we're gonna take this procedure. So about a week after all the bleeding happened, I went back to the doctors and I'm in the office and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I already took my mind out of a place where I was pregnant because I'm like, there's no possible way that I am still pregnant. So the doctor comes in at this point and he's talking to me like, okay, so everything looks good. We're going to arrange for an ultrasound. And he's talking to me like as if I'm still pregnant. So like, he was talking to me and I felt like I was not even processing what he was saying. So I had to be like, wait, are you saying that I'm still pregnant? And he's like, oh yes, the hormone levels, they doubled, like everything is normal. And I'm like, wait, what? So after that, I had to immediately go and take an ultrasound where they found out like how far along I was and everything. And I was like, I didn't know how to feel in the moment. Like, this was all just so like surreal. And when I went in to get the ultrasound, she showed me the heartbeat and I was like, well, here we are. So if you've ever been in that situation where you are contemplating whether to continue your pregnancy or terminate, and then you go into the ultrasound and you start to see the heartbeat, like, that is when things feel like real. Before, I didn't really feel like I was pregnant. It was whatever, but that is when things started to feel real. Meanwhile, I found out I was pregnant I was 3 weeks pregnant when I found out that I was pregnant. So I found out pretty early on. So yeah, there were like not really many signs that I was actually pregnant. So seeing that heartbeat, I was like, okay, there is an actual human growing inside of me. So at that point, I had to have a conversation with Big Papa's father and basically say like, hey, I think that I am like changing my mind about how I feel I want to proceed. Long story short, that did not go over well with him, but that is besides the point. But that is when I decided, I didn't even decide in that moment, that's when I wanted to continue, but that's when I actually started to think about it. And then over the next few weeks, like, no joke, I think I didn't make a final decision until like the end of April-ish. I was going back and forth every single day, every single night. It was keeping me up. It was the first thing I thought about in the morning, last thing I thought about when I would go to bed. Like, I just kept thinking, like, okay, I made up my mind, I'm gonna terminate. Or, okay, I made up my mind, I'm gonna keep this pregnancy. And like, I could not decide. I was back and forth every single day. And the reason I was back and forth had less to do with the fact that like I was like I don't want to have a baby, and more to do with the fact that I knew I was going to end up being a single mom if I went through with this pregnancy. So honestly, it was a very, very complicated couple months in the beginning, and it was sad and it was kind of lonely, but I ultimately, like, one day just had to make the decision for me after having like a few conversations with his father, and just kind of seeing, without saying too much, kind of seeing the way that he was like reacting. I realized that this was a decision that I really needed to make for myself and not for anybody else. And of course, I have the best family in the world, the best friends in the world, and there were a lot of people there that I was able to open up to and talk to throughout this to like kind of guide me in the right direction. But at the end of the day, this is a decision that only you can make, only I could make. So like, it was ultimately up to me, and it was the hardest thing that I ever experienced in my life. But he is waking up from his nap now, and that is pretty much the story of my emotions and how I felt throughout this pregnancy. And when I found out I was pregnant, it was such a shock, but I can't even imagine my life any other way right now. Like, I feel like he is like my purpose. Like, he's the reason that I'm waking up in the morning. He is my whole entire world. So at the end of the day, I'm so happy I made this decision. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.